Well, the weather finally calmed down enough for me to try and tinker with the car. Took the batteries in for when it got really cold, that way they wouldn't bust. My battery tray is in pretty rough shape, extremely corroded. I don't know how much of this is here. Seems pretty solid, at least in the middle and out to the curve. So my plan on this is to take it out of the car, probably soak it in vinegar and then see what's left. I'm gonna try to see what I can do here. That'll be what this video is about. This video will probably double as a how to remove the battery tray in a 94 to 97 Honda Accord. These look like they could have been originally 12mm bolts, so I'm going to see if these still fit. Yep. Maybe we'll get lucky and all of them will come out. Oh, that one looks like hell. That one came out. That one came out. Yeah, this fourth one with the acid on it. Yeah, it's real rough. Might have to bang an 11 onto that one. Feels like I might be able to make the 11 work. Nope. 11 will not work. Oh, got it. Okay, I got a 12.9/16 to fit on it. Cool. This bolt will definitely not be reused. This one has absolutely had it. Used a 9/16 12 point to get it off. So let's see what we're working with here. So I've got my 4 main bolts out, and then you have a holder over here. I believe that's a 10. And then this piece, this little bracket here, holds your little reservoir up. So I gotta get this off and then it should pull right out. So I've had these parts chilling in a bit of vinegar in this cooler for about 15 minutes. It's interesting, you can watch them react with the vinegar live time. These little bubbles you'll see coming off everything. On those bolts, half of that is rust being reacted with, and the other half of that is those bolts are zinc plated, reacting with that as well. You want to make sure to do this where there's plenty of ventilation, not like a enclosed garage or anything. Cool thing is this looks like it's already eating a lot of the stuff off, and you can see it in the top of the water. It's kind of got like a sheen to it. I'll let these cook for a little while and then I'll come back with a wire brush and kind of rough them up a bit. So I've went through with a wire wheel and wire wheeled all the rust and everything that had been created on the frame rail here and down here. And then after cleaning it and then doing it again and then coming back, wiped it down with acetone and then wiped it off with water, dried it off really good, wiped it down really good with a cotton cloth, and then shot it with engine paint. I put 3 coats of flat black engine paint on there. That should help seal it and keep it from rusting. Now what I did with the bracket and the tray, so I threw these in a cooler full of vinegar and water and let them sit and let the vinegar eat the rust off of them until I could pull them out and manually hand wire brush the rust scale off of the metal. I continued to put them in and out of the bath. I could have cleaned them up quicker, but there was so much buildup. I went ahead and threw them in there and left them for a week and a half. Got them out, brushed them off. They brushed off shiny. Unfortunately, there's so much degradation on this platter. I'm probably going to make a new one. It's so thin in spots, it would have been a waste to try and weld it back together where the bad rust was. So I just did what I could. I washed it and then shot the whole thing with black engine paint. Put a few coats on there so it's nice and thick. The bracket came out wonderfully. It had a minimal amount of rust on it, so it painted up real nice and cleaned up. The bolts and washers were in poor shape, but I managed to salvage them. Went ahead and de-corroded and painted all of them. Try and help seal them. So knowing that I'm going to make another one of these, I went ahead and traced this onto cardboard for a template and went in and marked all my holes so I know where to drill holes in the future metal. So when I get around to making a new platter, I'll do a video on it. But this will work for now. It'll keep my car from rusting and will keep me somewhere to put a battery in the car. This will work for now. Okay, so I took the nicest looking bolts and washers and I'm going to put them on the lower bracket, since no matter what, that's a piece I'm going to keep because it's in the best shape. So here's our freshly painted, de-corroded mount. Bracket looks really good now. And what's nice is that no matter what, I can make a new tray for this area because that bracket's still good. So these are the 4 bolt holes that matter. So I could just make a completely universal tray to put here and it would be totally fine with it. These are the main parts I was worried about preserving. After that, I mean, the tray's whatever, I can make another tray. But for now, we'll reuse the old one. Here comes our new tray. Goes in like this. We have 3 out of 4 bolts, not a big deal. I've probably got some spares I'll dig out here in a minute. Oh yeah, these are threading in beautiful now that they've been de-corroded and wire wheeled. So I put the first 2 in, just here and here. I'm going to take the 3rd one and go match it up with another bolt so I'll have another bolt to use. Found another bolt in my pile that matches. Okay, so now we're going to snug them down. One of those got so far gone it became an 11. Yeah. Front passenger side bolt is technically an 11. The rest of those are still 12s. That's good for me to know for future reference. So now, this is bolted back in here. It's solid. At least it's not going to rust. It's still structurally sound. So now I can put the reservoir back on there. I do need to figure out a new plastic insert. These from the factory came with a plastic insert that sat inside of this battery tray. So what these extra holes were for was pegs to align it. The plastic used to sit in there, that way when you put your battery in there, the battery didn't get punched or over time vibrate a hole in the bottom of it from the head of these bolts. So I'm going to have to figure out something to put there to be able to set a battery down on it without it hurting the battery. We'll go over to a Civic and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's the underhood of this 1994 Honda Civic. And right here is where the battery would go. And if you look down here, there's a little removable insert. So this is a little plastic plate with little tabs on the bottom that sits down in the battery tray. Keeps the battery from rubbing on the metal over time. That was what was missing in the Accord. And this just goes right down here in the Civics. Something like a rubber mat from the sides of a lawnmower would work, but I'm actually going to reuse that on the Craftsman that I have, so I can't use that. Bits of Rubbermaid container would work, but I don't have enough to fill out that tray. Wood collects moisture, wood would rust it out immediately, and it's too soft, so it constantly shift where the battery was held down, so wood's not a good option. Smooth scrap metal would be good, but it takes way too long. There's a lot of preparation, and it would basically be like, might as well just go ahead and custom make one, so I'm not going to do that. Rubber floor mat would work wonderfully, but I don't have any spares, and that's midnight, so I'm not going to touch that because that's usable. Now this isn't the best thing, but it's something. I have a tote lid here I can clean up and cut. I have my cardboard template of my tray that I made before I put it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer that onto that and cut it out. Is this the most optimal material? No. Could I make a better one out of some different material? Yes. But this is what I have, and this is what'll work. It's far away from the engine, so it's not going to get direct heat from right there at the engine. It'll be fine. So I've copied my template onto there to cut out, and I did it oversized so then I can cut it down to where it needs to be. This is just a basic cut, and then I'll trim it from there. So now I got a basic panel, and if we go to sit it down in there, we'll notice it's a little big. So I'll just keep trimming on this bit by bit, and we'll eventually get to the point to where it'll fit. It fits perfectly inside of that little tray. I'm happy with that. That'll get me by. Now my next concern is going to be, since I'm using a half-size battery and not the full-size battery, I've made some new hold-down mounts. I've got to make the posts for them. So that's going to be an entirely different video, but with this setup, if you're trying to make it by, you don't want your car to rust out, and you want a solid surface for your battery to sit on to get by until you can get like an aluminum one out of the junkyard off of another car that won't rust, or a new one, or like me, you're waiting to make one, then this will get you by.